Welcome back, you eager people looking for Starfield information. I was actually going to cover this topic next week, but I figured since someone, Nelson here, was looking forward to what I was thinking about the single player co-op or PvP experience in Starfield, I figured I would just go ahead and cover it this week. So this video is going to focus on where I think Starfield is going to kind of line out in the single to PvP type of experience. But we have not gotten any new information about Starfield yet again this week. But we did get this cool looking image from Starfield's Twitter account on August 2nd. It's a blank page, obviously, but they sent this out as National Coloring Book Day. So if you have some kiddos around the house that are bored, you need something to do at work, or maybe you need a challenge to see how much you can drink before you start coloring outside the lines, whatever your reason, grab this and enjoy your coloring. Now, let's get in it and start ruffling some feathers. There's been a lot of people saying that Starfield is going to be a single player offline game. And let me tell you, that has not been said by Bethesda. And I think a lot of people are getting their hopes up for Bethesda to go back to the way they previously did games before Fallout 76. The only thing we've heard about whether Starfield is going to be single, co-op, or multiplayer is from a Todd Howard interview during the Develop Brighton Digital 2020 conference in November of 2020. During the interview, Howard was asked if there is a purely open world multiplayer Bethesda game down the line. Now, this was coming off of the, we'll say lackluster release of Fallout 76. But in Howard's response, he mentions that they will be more upfront about what the game will be before taking people's money, but didn't want to say never in the future potential of that style of game coming from Bethesda. Howard then went on to say that overall, it's been a really positive experience. It's made them better developers, and it's made them better connected with their community. That's us. But wouldn't commit to Fallout 76 being a one-off. Then he says, and I quote, "Obviously the things we got coming, Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, are single-player games." Okay, so there we have it. Video over.
Turn the lights on. Let's get the bulldozers in here and turn this place into a parking lot.
Okay, wait just a second. Let's talk about what is being said in the interview. I'll leave a link to the video interview in the comments below. If you hover over the slide bar at the bottom, you will be able to see which parts of the videos have been watched the most. And really, that specific part about Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 being single player, which is around the 45-minute mark, is the most watched part in that area of the video. So I think people are jumping the gun here and not taking the full context of what is going on in the conversation. What we need to understand is how Fallout 76 was released and relate it to the conversation that they are having in the interview. It wasn't really a single player game at launch and was pitched more as a play Fallout with other players in this open world kind of game, which sounded awesome. But the player base from the previous Fallout games were expecting a more story-rich player experience. Sure, there were quests that you could do, but that really wasn't the main part of the game. The single-player aspect of Fallout 76 now, after 3 expansions, is quite extensive, but wasn't that way at release. It was much more of playing with other people in an open world, and there were also quests for you to go do. So in understanding how Fallout 76 was released, we can now understand why Todd Howard said that both Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 are going to be single-player games. However, Howard never said offline or only or going back to previous model. So I take with what he said as Starfield is going to focus on single-player experience first. And that doesn't mean that there will be no co-op or multiplayer. I just think they are going to go about it in a different way. Obviously, I think we would all like some clarity as to what they are planning, but I think we can expect Bethesda to continue with multiplayer integration in their games going forward. So let me give you some thoughts as to why I think we will be able to play with our friends and what I would like to see from Starfield as it pertains to multiplayer. The interview I previously mentioned was way back in November of 2020, so that already was long enough ago for Bethesda to change their minds. And the fact that they actually haven't even come out and said that it is going to be a single player game or confirmed that it's going to be a single player game just further leaves that open. But just 2 months before then, Microsoft reached a deal to acquire ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda. So at the time of the interview, there was no real impact from Team Xbox on what they would like to see from Starfield. And if you think Team Xbox isn't going to change the direction Howard and Bethesda had for Starfield, well, think again. From Starfield's first showing at E3 of 2020 to E3 of 2021, PlayStation was removed as a place where you would be able to play Starfield.
For my homie.
So if Team Xbox can make Starfield a console exclusive, you bet your ass they can have it be multiplayer. Another thing about the previous interview is, Howard said the team learned a lot and they felt a lot closer to the community. That would be a lot to throw away to start over with just a single player game. I'm not saying they got Fallout 76 correct, but learning what doesn't work is just as important as learning what does. And with all the leaks and reports about the ambitious content coming from Starfield, maybe none is more ambitious than Phil Spencer and his expectations for Starfield. Phil Spencer did an interview with Axios' Stephen Totillo, hope I'm saying that right, in early February, in where he talked about what he would like to get out of Starfield. And during this interview, Phil Spencer did talk about conversation he had with Todd Howard and how do we make sure this is the most played Todd Howard game ever. Phil Spencer went on to say, as a platform, I think we have a lot to do with that. Quality of the title is number one, no doubt about that. But that will be a success for me for the individual games. Can we really make these games? Can we allow them to reach more players than they've ever seen before? And I say that because I believe in the social impact of interactive entertainment. So that little ending right there, where he's talking about he wants to see Starfield be the most played Todd Howard game ever, and he wants to use social impact of interactive entertainment, this is where I think we will see some form of co-op or multiplayer in Starfield. If there is anybody in gaming that understands the value of multiplayer games, it's gonna be Phil Spencer. Oh, and also EA, but that executive team is a bunch of greedy money suckers and are only into multiplayer games to monetize and exploit their customers. That rant for another day though. But after the acquisition, if the topic came up about implementing multiplayer or struggling to implement multiplayer, this is where Team Xbox could bring a vast array of knowledge to help out. So if you are somebody who wants to see multiplayer in Fallout, Elder Scrolls, or Starfield, Team Xbox could provide a great amount of knowledge to the Bethesda team. Not just in terms of technology, but also what they have seen work across a great number of games in the ways of implementation. Because it's the way Bethesda implemented multiplayer in Fallout 76 to the reason why I think it wasn't a hit at release. So before I cover my ideas, let me know down in the comments, what are your ideas for how you would like to see single player co-op and PvP kind of implemented into Starfield? So let me finish out this video by talking about how I would like to see multiplayer implemented in Starfield and how some other games are doing it really well. Having a massive game the size of Starfield with no co-op would be a hugely missed opportunity. And I really think as long as they took the PvP out of the open world part of the game, Starfield would be amazing. But there is so much that they could do with co-op, clans, and PvP in a game like Starfield. For instance, if you had clans, you could have different clan ranks for how much activities certain clan members have done and how much game time that they have put in, which I think would be really interesting to see, who is putting in a lot of time. And also have different clan size classifications. Like if there's under 10 players in your clan, maybe you're considered a family. If you're between like 11 to 40, maybe you're considered a group. And if you have more than 40 players in your clan, maybe you're considered a faction that can rival other factions in the game. And I also think being able to tie your clan and alliances or your reputation to the other factions that are in the game can open up different activities for your clan to do. I'd also like to see clan outposts have a larger area than the players' outposts and have access to clan structures to show off clan achievements. Something like having a great hall building and you see different trophies and statues mounted for what your clan has accomplished. And these could be rewards from clan hunts or bounties or missions from other factions. And as far as PvP goes, I do think they should keep it separate, like other games, like a Destiny 2, where the game world is single player and co-op, but if you want to go play PvP, it's in its separate own sandbox. And one of the really interesting aspects of a game like Starfield that you don't really see too often, or really you haven't seen this at all, is you can have spaceship PvP and you could also have ground-based combat PvP. And spaceship PvP could be really interesting. Maybe you're in the atmosphere of a planet, or maybe you are in space. And if you are doing spaceship PvP, I would like them to come up with different PvP modes to where it's accessible for multiple arrays of ship designs and ship customization, and not just always speedy flyers, deathmatch, that kind of thing. Because if you took one scenario where you had to take resources from your base to a middle point, it could make for some interesting ship customizations and building, as some people maybe want to do the attacking and some people just want to fly their ship from where their resources are to where they need to get to win the match. Something like that would entice a wide array of different ship ideas in a game, instead of just a typical deathmatch where everybody's going to want to be a fast, speedy shooter. If we look at ground combat PvP, this is where a map that is randomly generated in the game world could be very interesting. I have never seen this come from a game, and the closest thing that we have gotten to this kind of an idea is the Battle Royale modes that have really taken over gaming over the past several years. But you typically always play on the same map. It just shrinks down to a smaller area, but it always kind of keeps you a little bit off pace. You never really truly know the map that you're going to be playing it. Setting up an idea like this to where it's just randomly generated, you know, some hexagonal maybe configuration on some random planet would be really interesting aspect to see, because even if you're playing in the open world and you're not part of the PvP game, you know, if you come across this type of activity, do you just sit there and watch it for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes? Or do you need on the other side of the PvP arena and you try to go around it? I think it's just some interesting aspects that could come of this, and I would really like to see it, because one of the biggest issues with PvP maps, traditional PvP maps, is the person that knows the map the best is the one that has the best advantage to win. So if you could take the PvP maps and make them randomized in the game world, I think it could be very interesting. Has been a feature that I've been wanting to see for quite a long time in a game, but we are starting to now get there to where game worlds are being large enough and diversified enough to make this possible. So those are just some of the ideas and things I would like to see in there, but I really think they should have at least co-op in the game and remove out the PvP aspect of it, like how it is currently implemented in Fallout 76. Because games that have implemented a system like that, it never really works out the way they think it would or it should, because most people are off doing their own thing, and one person that comes up and tries to initiate a PvP combat, nobody else is really ready for it except for the person that initiates it. It just leaves the experience disconnected, and this is why I really would like to see them separate out PvP into its own separate segment of the game and leave single player and co-op kind of in its own realm, to where people can go off and just do their own thing. So I would not expect to see just a solo single player, straight up vanilla single player experience, as I do think we will see some kind of co-op, because that has been a great experience I've had in Fallout 76, as I have met people in the open world in Fallout 76 that have told me that Fallout 76 has been their funnest Fallout so far, and it has been because of the social aspects of Fallout 76, that they can show off their camp or different things that the previous games didn't have. So I really do hope that they leave this aspect of it in, as it has been really interesting to see some of the different ways that people have built out their camps in Fallout 76. You know, hopefully we can show off some of that customization in Starfield to, you know, our friends or our community or our clans. So don't expect to be hearing any news about Starfield for the next couple of weeks. The next opportunity is going to be at QuakeCon, and that's going to be August 18th to the 20th. So this is the next most likely news event that we could hear anything about Starfield. I will be paying attention and will be making content on anything new that comes from that. But as of now, the current schedule doesn't have any dedicated Starfield time. So we'll just have to see if something gets out from an interview or offhand comments or anything like that, because that'll probably be the most likely source, is just from an interview. So I appreciate you watching.